Welcome to Pep Talks with Eric, where we shift gears from negative feedback loops and drive towards the life we truly want. I'm your host, Eric Ayers. I believe in the power of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Together, we'll explore how connections fuel our growth and create amazing experiences. In this podcast, we'll tune out the noise of the world and tune into what we really want and what really matters. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Pep Talks with Coach Eric. I'm your host, Coach Eric, and I'm super pumped for today's episode. I have two amazing human beings that are doing some amazing things in the wellness, specifically in the mental wellness arena. And I'm just super excited for them to be on. So I am going to let them introduce themselves. We're going to talk about their new company, which is amazing. And then we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper. But guys, Dustin, Mick, thank you so much for joining me. This is amazing. And please take a minute to say hello and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, this is an honor, Eric. Thanks so much for having us on. Just really excited. You're doing great things. And we're just honored to get to share what we're doing at MindHealth Concierge. And so my name's Dustin Dean. By trade, I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Have a lot of experience. I work for a world-renowned healthcare facility in the Midwest for most of my career. Also a nursing professor of mental health. And but recently, Mick and I got together and we were trying to do some exciting things in regards to, kind of changing the system in mental wellness. And that's what we started at MindHealth Concierge. And can't wait to talk a little bit about it and a lot of other things today. So take it away, Mick.
No, that's the shortest Dustin's ever introduced himself. It's fantastic.
Yeah, man, I was practicing, man. I don't want to let Eric down, baby. Eric or his listeners or his viewers. So
no, it's a pleasure to be on here. Eric is he's the up and coming in the future, man, of what this is all about. And I've been around a minute, and before I got into to this field, I had some business success and failures, and I told Eric the other day, reminded me very much of an icon in the fitness industry, a guy that I joined back in the day in the 80s, and we started a company and a bunch of fantastic people grew it called 24-Hour Fitness, and beyond that, it led me that was one step, and then there were several other businesses that I developed that were really related to the healthcare field, developing programs for people dealing with obesity, tobacco cessation, and really the whole thing was about how do we make changes that people can step into, feel good about, and actually, the way I always say it is, let's make it cool, man. So whether it's making fitness cool or letting go of tobacco and empowering people to do it. So you're kind enough to let Dustin and I come in and talk about something that we're now doing again. It's very cutting edge and out of the box, but not outside of the general consensus of how to help people take steps in their life to empower themselves to whatever they need to do. And a lot of those folks that we're dealing with, because of the business model we have, are very high achieving people at this point. And Dustin and I both worked with folks like that in the past, and we're excited. We want to be a part of good change and making mental wellness cool.
I love that. And if you guys haven't realized it already, I think the reason why this conversation, I'm so excited about it and why I enjoyed the conversation that we had last time we met is the energy that Dustin brings is like, I feel like I need to match it. And he's like pulling my inner child out to say, come play. Right. And then mix wisdom and the ability to say like things like, hey, we're making empowerment cool. Like empowerment is how we change lives. And if it's cool, then we're going to go do that thing. That's how marketing has worked since I've known it to be. So awesome to have you guys on. I'm super stoked for you to be here.
Thanks.
And So give me a brief overview. I don't want to deep dive into it yet, but a brief overview on MindHealth Concierge. Like, where did the idea come from, and what is the concept?
All right.
Go ahead.
So I'll fire it real quick, and then Mick will fill in all the pieces that I miss. All right. So here's the just like you said, the wisdom and the hype. Okay, that's what this is all about.
It's balance.
So
It's balance, brother. It's
yeah,
balance.
exactly. So you know what? Like I mentioned before, I'd been in the ivory tower field of things. I'd been in the institutionalized field of things. Inpatient, outpatients. I'd done psychiatry in both, and as a provider, a prescriber, and someone who's engaged in psychotherapy, the system is just lacking. It's wearing a lot of providers out. The clients aren't getting what they needed. So Mick and I together hooked up on LinkedIn. Just a beautiful thing happened. Once again, going back to the wisdom and experience with all these things. Mick has done so many things in actual real life scenarios, entrepreneurial scenarios, and I've been kind of in the system. And together we're bringing this thing to individuals, to high achieving individuals is where we've started. It just kind of fell in our lap, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later. But what MindHealth Concierge is really about is helping people maximize their joy, like getting a system that is subscription based, where they can see us once a week at first as things are going good, those check-ins, insurance, availability, all these things are really obstacles for a lot of people, especially high achieving individuals. That schedule is tight, and a lot of people are not getting what they need in regards to mental wellness, treatment and care because of that. Some of them have also been burned by things of the system because the system overwhelms providers and sometimes overwhelms patients. And we really want to engage people to be there when they need us. I think that's a personalized approach that meets weekly with people and gives access to people, to two providers. And that's another thing that's interesting about is both Mick and I are in every appointment together. So you're getting the wisdom, you're getting the experience and the hype, and it's a really special thing. And it's, as far as we know, it's not duplicated anywhere, where every session you get two providers that are engaging for you. Every session you're getting 4 years instead of 2. You're getting, what do people say is missing from psychiatry and mental health? No one hears me, and I need a second opinion. Well, every appointment with us, that's what you get.
Which is interesting. I want to add one thing to that. The basic human need is to feel seen, heard, and valued, right? And if someone is saying, I'm not being heard or I'm not being seen, they're ultimately saying my foundational human desire is not being met. So brilliant. So Mick, anything to add to that?
That started to become the deep dive, and we can, and I think we can probably break some of that out, but I think Dustin said it so well. And the word hype, Dustin is a unique individual, and his energy, his passion for what we're doing. I've seen clients connect and trust completely with Dustin. And so when it comes to that word hype, this is more about raising this thing into a new light and trying to again, utilize the kind of skill sets somebody like Dustin has, and perhaps I bring to the table to really make a difference. We talked with you, Eric, the other day, and you talked about something spelled Ubuntu, pronounced
Ubuntu.
very nice. And the thing that I did some little bit of knowledge or quick research on it. Talk about self-knowledge, self-confidence, resilience, empathy, and service. And I really think that's cool because it spells out from that perspective anyway a lot of what brings Dustin and I to the table. But we can certainly talk more about our business concept as we go along if you want to.
Yeah. So you bring up, one of my favorite topics, Ubuntu. And to me, like that's what this feels like, because it feels like the human aspect. So out of all people to quote, I'm going to quote Tom Cruise. All right. He experienced Ubuntu in a South African culture. Like he was there and got to experience it. And he said it this way: Ubuntu is the plural of humanity, because we look at our humanity as me versus the world as I, and Ubuntu is the we helping one another in the collaborative. And so as you're talking, that's what I'm thinking of, is like, how do we bring humans into the space to help other humans and begin to expand? So with that, Dustin, you brought up some potential improvements or opportunities in the healthcare industry to assist on this. So would you say that the human element is lacking in healthcare? And I'm asking this to both of you. And if so, like, what can we do to mitigate and to improve this?
Do you want to go, Mick?
Oh, I mean, I can.
Yeah, go
We
ahead.
could both talk at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. That's
got a lot to say.
But it's flowing out. I want, but I think that the balance. So if you want to throw it in, and then I can too.
So the human aspect, I will say this, we are stepping a little outside of the box of the system, and for good reason, and for what we're seeing, the system itself, and again, it works for a lot of people. It's good for people. I mean, there are tremendous providers out there working so hard and so good. They're good at what they do.
Yeah.
And thankfully for that. But when you look at the way the machine works a little bit, is that when it comes to, let's say, the insurance piece, people need that, and there are people that need that insurance otherwise it can be very expensive and unaffordable for some. But we stepped outside of that, and one of the reasons we did that, and we're more of a cash pay model, is that this allows us to really allow our clients to be engaged with us immediately. We are not going to jump through the hoops and worry so much about documentation to the point where that becomes our focus. And unfortunately for a lot of providers in the system, they have to worry so much about that not only are you seeing this disconnect at times, that is the clients or patients feeling as though they're not able to really, spend the time with that provider to connect, or that provider can do it. But that providers are also, burning out. So much burnout we're seeing, and it's sad, because these are great people, man. These are elevated folks that want to do the good work, but it gets to be tough at times because of the system that way. And so when you can break that out a little bit, or break that down, and we're trying to do that for sure for our clients, it gives us access. They have access to us. So that client doesn't have to go through 2 or 3 people to get to us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks or a month. They can reach out to us today, and we're going to talk to them today. They could reach out if they're overseas and the time difference is there, and it's 3 a.m. They can be assured first thing in the morning we're going to be touching base with them. So it's allowing us that kind of personalization. It's a different approach to the humanization, the connection piece. They know we're there. They know they can get to us, and there's just nothing stands in between that.
Awesome.
And I think that, yes, exactly. And I think the other element that ties in with this is that really we're trying to do something different with, is that connection piece. Is that that we're going on a journey together, instead of that almost a little bit like Ubuntu, where Tom Cruise said there was the us against you. Unfortunately, sometimes the system almost puts that in place, that it's almost provider versus client. It's not really, but that's how it feels. I'm here in my white coat. I'm sitting here. Go sit on the couch. Tell me what's going on. Okay, we'll see you next week. Instead of us going on that journey. Mm-hmm. And I think with all the regulations, the system has moved things to a point that both sides feel uncomfortable. And this is so sad, that like, to help people thrive and get that connection and help people maximize their joy, it's the greatest gift opportunity there is,
Yes.
but the system has made people afraid, and fear is the enemy of fulfillment. Okay. And that's where we can do something different, since we, we can do multiple things. We have the training, we have the license to prescribe and do psychotherapy and stuff, but we start with coaching.
Right.
We start with, let's work on this journey. Let's go on this journey together. This is about us. This isn't about me and then you. This is about us. And that idea of us in the system has scared a lot of people. There's a lot of, and obviously healthy boundaries have to be there and stuff. I'm not saying, like Mick said, I'm not going against that, but I think it's come to a point that the humanness and the connection has been lost out of fear of the system. And that's how we really want to, revolutionize the system. There obviously systems are important, but starting, things are changed from, I always look from me outward. Okay. Everybody wants to look and go, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Me and Mick came together and said, what do we have that's right that we can do? And that's what we're going to do. And that's what MindHealth Concierge is about.
I love it. And it is putting almost the humanity back into the human service, which is the industry that we're in. That was kind of my recognition of my journey of, I've been so focused on me and what I want and what I don't want, that I've totally put out of my mind that I'm here to serve other human beings and to be a vessel to help them in the knowledge and wisdom that I have. So like, where did that go? How do we shift that? How do we scale that shift?
And that's what I thought. I hope this is okay to share. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to say this. When we were talking before, and you were talking about your journey, and we were kind of on that journey together. We kind of knew each other and talked a little bit. And when I heard the growth, and you were, as any of us that want to provide for our families and do the best thing, like, let's keep moving up. Let's keep moving up. Once you kind of embraced it and said, let's serve others, the moving up took care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
And in a way that you could be you. So I don't want to get things off, but I did want to identify that. Mick and I talked about that and how, just what special things are coming for you, man. And I think that it's cool to see.
Well, I appreciate
you're unique, Eric. You're unique, and you've got something that, when people grow in this industry, they're gonna, like you have a group of powerful, wise individuals that you have studied, and you're going to be. I said to you the other day, you're going to be that person that people are going to look to. You're that vessel, man. So keep it going. That's for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I remember telling my wife one day, is like, I want to be a famous philosopher, and then it's asking questions, seeking, and it's like, it's interesting how that internal transformation expands itself into the world. So, thank you. Moving back, I want to tap back into this because, like, the humanity aspect of this, where I want to talk about technology, because, Dustin, you and I met in virtual reality. Like that's what we were talking about. And so first of all, question, I want Mick to answer this as well. What is your thoughts on technology and human connection? Do you see it as taking away from human connection? Do you see it as creating more human connection?
Sure. So, that's good you're asking me first, because I know I'm the least knowledgeable of the three people sitting here when it comes to that. I say that because, when I started after the service and when I got out of the Navy and started businesses in California, technology was more about, there wasn't a technology. And as time went along, it's become that. And so the concept now is that's how people connect. And that is what it is. Yet, sure, I think that can go both ways. To answer your question, Eric, is that, people can lose that ability to connect in a real way if they're not, it doesn't mean they have to be sitting next to each other. Look at this. We're able to talk from 3 different places on the continent. I'm out in Oregon. Dustin is in Minnesota, and you are where, Eric?
I'm in Tennessee, East Tennessee.
Tennessee, right on. So here we are covering the bases, and this is fantastic. This couldn't happen before, and so this connects people. This is fantastic. Well, but if the reliance upon that is such that people only become comfortable with that, yeah, I think people can disconnect, particularly, and it's a whole nother subject. But if our youth are not, they need to have the ability to make those connections, of human connections, and it be real and take risks, and that's important. The cool thing, though, is I think that I have great faith that is what's going to happen, perhaps just on a different level.
Yeah.
And because of this, like telehealth, Dustin and I, that's what we do. If we're with a client who's down in California, or is in New York, or is in Florida, wherever they are, or they're in Spain this week, or in Italy, something, we can work with that person because of this, and I can sit in my horse stable here in the mountains of Oregon, Dustin, in Minnesota, and you where you are, and be able to communicate.
Yeah.
So that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but that's my way, as knowledgeable as I am, or lack thereof. That's my answer. Dustin will answer this better.
So I heard real quick though, balance. Balance
Okay.
is what I gathered from that. And like, yeah, the COVID was one of the greatest disruptors in terms of what we're able to do beyond the status quo. And I think that led to things, what you mentioned was, yeah, balancing it. Don't rely on it 100%, but utilize it as a tool, which is freaking
a
amazing.
Wonderful tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an amazing tool. Absolutely.
Dang, you stole my line, man. No, I swear that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Tells me you got another one, though, Dustin.
No, believe me, I got a lot here. You guys know this. Here we go. Okay, no, it's a tool. I mean, Ubuntu exists with us because of technology. We would not know each other if the technology, if LinkedIn was not there. This beautiful moment would not happen. And I get any extremes are not good, in my opinion. And when people say technology is all it, Ready Player One full time, you live inside virtual reality, that's an issue.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, what I hear more is, and I think there's multiple reasons, I think technology brings a lot of freedom. I think a lot of opinions can come out, a lot of truth can come out. So therefore it gets painted as negative of, oh no, we have to stay in, this virtual world and the world and the internet and all the, it's bad. It drains you. You can't be in front of a TV. And there's truth to all those things. All those things are tools, and there has to be balance. That being said, the, majority of my friends, one of my best friends lives in Croatia. Okay. Mick is in Oregon. Okay. But what's happened is, what did I do? Last year, I went to ETH Denver cryptocurrency conference and met my friend from Croatia and met my other friend from San Diego that's in my guild. What did I do? I flew out and saw Mick in Oregon. What am I going to do? I'm going to make a trip to Tennessee at some point and meet Eric. So this is what I think. When we go to extremes and when we operate out of fear, instead of out of fun and fulfillment, bad things happen. So people always say technology's bad. No, we need to connect with the wilderness again. You hear that on one side, or you hear screw everything. Let's put the microchip in our brain and become robo people.
Yeah.
Those are tools. And as humans, we've always thrived together. Our community has always depended upon tools, and us sharing those tools and using those tools to benefit first and foremost our own health, our family, and then outward to our community. Okay. That's what technology is to me. And it excites me, as you know, and I love it. And obviously I lean towards, not the chip, but I like technology, but I also am aware that I need to go meet Mick in real life.
For sure.
I need to, Murky was my friend who lives in Croatia that I met at these things need to have balance.
And that's it. It's a balance, because if I'm 100% living in a VR world 90% of the day, when I realize something is off, I'm going to have a moment of, I need to go out in nature, because that's the other side of the coin. And that's my internal ability to say, I need both. But to your point, all in on one doesn't bring balance, because it brings a shift in where we're going. So I love that you brought that up. It's interesting that we're talking about this, and Mick, your name is Mick, because someone who brought this to my attention, I had the privilege of seeing a keynote with him at an IMSH conference a few years back, and his name is Mick Eblin, and he's the CEO of Not Impossible Labs. And his idea is, of the company is, if someone asks you to do something and there's something that you can do, like, figure it out, say yes, and go full steam. Get the group of, he calls them groups of hackers, because what is a hacker? It's someone who is trying to figure out something else and go in, and they figure out the ways to help. But his quote is, technology for the sake of humanity. And that has always stuck with me. So are we using technology for the sake of technology, or are we leveraging technology as a way to say, we're on different time zones, we're in different languages, we are all of these differences that we can use technology to come together and expand the human experience. And that, I think, is what you guys illustrated there. So thank you for that. So this potential disconnection that we've been speaking of, because if we're not connecting at a human level, it leads to disconnection, which then relates to something that we've chatted about, loneliness. And real quick, because we have so much more to dive into, I want to unpack this, what we came to know as loneliness at the top. And in our previous conversation, as we were chatting, Dustin got super passionate about this, and it was something that I wrote down as a loneliness at the top, and I correlated this to the disconnection that people are feeling on this pursuit. So, Dustin, would you mind diving into this?
Yeah, it's something that just really hit my heart, and when I started, a while back trying to get into coaching, it all of a sudden, my clients were these people that you would never guess would need help. CEOs, people that have resources beyond what any of us could almost imagine, those sort of things. And they were reaching out, and they were hurting. They were so lonely, and and I think COVID and some other things just really started to, set this idea that haves versus have-nots, and that there's only a certain portion of people that need support and need connection and need love. And that's what, when this happened, it was like, wow. And then to be able to navigate this with people, and then use, and then Mick and I came together and really were able, because he actually had the background and the experience of working with some celebrities and some other things. And it just kind of randomly happened in my coaching business. We connected, and we're like, there's a need, there's a huge need. And that's why we start. And a lot of them have been burnt by the system in different ways, and not blaming anybody, but it's true. The traditional way that things have gone have hurt a lot of people, and isolated a lot of people that might have alternative schedules and need, a little different support than is able to be provided under the old system with insurance and those things. And just to see to work through this and go on this journey with these high achieving individuals that have accomplished so much. And the I think I said this before, but the boy who started in the trailer park in the mountains of Washington and has worked very hard to get the knowledge and the experience, and then to go on this journey and and all of us come together and see that humanness and see that connection and just see how amazing life can get when we start processing through our power and potential rather than our pain. And that's one thing that the Mick and I both really, focus on is helping people train their brain. We know we need to train our bodies, but through repetition, training your brain to seeing, looking at those successes, looking at the, processing the pain if need be, but then like really focusing on and journeying through, the gratitude types, kind of like you mentioned, becoming gratitude. I like that. That's a lot of similar to
And
what
I think,
we do.
Eric, I mean, just I'll put one other thought on that is that when you think
please.
about the top and loneliness, I think sometimes that society, has when we sometimes judge things that we wish we were or had potentially, but we all don't want to be that. It takes a unique individual to take on the pressures of that kind of success, and some break under that pressure. But when somebody has that, the good news is, if that individual who is at the top of their game, whether it be the professional athlete, whether it be an actor, let's say that is being looked at by society and admired sometimes to a fault by society, or CEO, somebody in the valley in California that is working on technologies. So at the end of the day, though, oftentimes it's the expectations on that individual. It's what is wanted or needed from that individual by people. They're not necessarily looking at who that individual is at all times. What is that? Who is that person? And so the loneliness often comes from that, being put on in the ivory tower, and there you are. And look, we can't judge that. What we have to say is those women, men who are that are driven and are successful and are smart and get to that level, if they are right, if they are balanced, if they are well mentally, and their surroundings, their relationships, all that is in a good state, the people that they can affect positively going downstream is fantastic.
Yes.
And hopefully they're servant leaders. They're people that are putting themselves under all their people, right? But either way, it flows from that. And what the good they can do, we don't often point out that enough. We often obviously look at some of the negative things that are out there, and they're there. They're always going to be there. But that's what we're really talking about is if we can empower and support and help those individuals find that center again, because it gets wild, once that success starts. One of my old friends for a minute in the 80s was Robin Williams. And Robin would come in. One of my offices was in a San Francisco gym, and I'll be quick, but he came in and worked out, and there's a lot of fun stories to that. But Robin was just on the verge of a lot of success at that point. And it was, that's overwhelming at times. And for somebody like that, who is a jewel of a person, just a sweet guy, a caring, giving individual, I didn't have the knowledge or the I couldn't encompass at that point what he was going through. I can look back much better, but he was just one of the people that it spoke to me and said, here's a guy that affected the world, and with what he was going through, I'm sure along the way, had there been the kind of awareness and help, if he could have necessarily gotten that. And I'm not saying that didn't happen in some way, but I am suggesting that that was probably missing. People looked at him. People would come in and they'd say, "Hey, can my wife wants to meet you," and they'd be walking past or something, or we'd be at lunch, and somebody would say that. It was looking at him as the person they saw. Because of success.
Right.
And again, this was earlier on, before even the growing part of it. But the individual at times, I think, was lonely based on that, trying to figure it out along the way. So that's what we're trying to do going forward.
I love that. And you tapped into flow, and my understanding, the analogy that I bring into flow when I think of this is, a lot of people say, well, my cup's half full, or like my cup is empty. I can't. Well, okay, you should never be feeding someone out of your cup anyway. It should be the overflow from your cup, and it should be from the saucer.
Yes.
So
That's well said.
once,
That's nice.
once we're
That's
filled,
beautiful.
once we're filled, it's flowing, and it's an endless amount of flow, right? So I love that. Love the Robin Williams story, and times like that we witness as humans give us opportunities later to be like, oh, this is missing, and it's like it's the
Yes, sir.
opportunities, and so I
You're right.
love that, and I love how you courageously took that on as, no, this is going to drive me forward instead of holding me back. So thank you.
Thanks.
Guys, if you are enjoying this conversation, I encourage you to tune in next week for part 2. We're going to dive into a little bit more of what they do, the models behind this, and the importance of this coach therapy hybrid model that is so fascinating. So join us next time. Thank you for joining me on Pep Talks with Eric, where together we shift our focus, brace connection, and drive towards a more fulfilling life. Remember, it's not just about where you're headed, but how you choose to travel along the way. As you continue your journey, know that you have the power to change lanes and focus on the path that leads to positivity, purpose, and connection. Let's stay connected and continue empowering your journey one commute at a time. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. And until then, be well, be loved.